All right. Hi, everyone. So let's just take a moment and land in the room. Use your senses to bring yourself into this moment. Soften your eyes. Take in the entire room at once. Shift just a little bit to your hearing. How much can you hear? Give yourself a chance to take a full breath and just sort of drop your body into a relaxation mode. If there's anything anybody would like brought up tonight or to talk about, or any questions about any aspect of spirituality or meditation, you're welcome to drop it in the chat. Otherwise, we'll just open up and see what comes tonight. Attention at the forehead and crown. Eyes open, just let them fall to some spot in front of you on the floor or on the wall or on the desk. And just let this moment open up to you. Stepping into this moment is like opening a door. A door that is really only closed by your attention on all the closed parts of your life, all the restrictions and limitations that you think you have to abide by. But you just take a breath and you shift your attention to this open, breathing, unconditional moment. My life today, every little area of my life has at least one person in it that is obsessed with conditions. Hang on, let me give someone the password who's trying, I think, to get in on their phone. everybody in my life, in every group, there's one person, sometimes two, but usually it's one dominant, that has a whole bunch of just things that have to be a certain way, or they're not going to feel okay. It makes them behave in ways that are just crazy, like running around, damaging people's reputations and doing all sorts of things just to not have to admit that they didn't do something they should have done, because it's not going to be okay for them to just shift directions. Or insisting on attending this or that. They have to be here and not there. And even though everything that's good for them is in this one spot. I have another person that just demanded all this credit for something she didn't do and did it publicly, and I had to turn her down in front of a bunch of people. Like, just all this discomfort, these moments that just don't need to exist if you could just take a breath and step into the actual unconditional moment. It's like that story I've told you guys a million times. This comes from the Castaneda teachings. It's the one where the student is basically tied to a chair and then the teachers walk away. And he just starts screaming and yelling, and he's enraged that he's been tied up, and this goes on for 30 minutes. The teachers finally come back and they're like, well, if you would have just taken a breath and calmed down, you would have noticed that we didn't tie the ropes very tight. You probably could have gotten out. You would have noticed that if you slide them down around this little thing, they would have come right off the chair. You would have noticed that within 2 inches of your hand, there were scissors that you could have used to cut yourself out of the ropes. But none of that was an option because you were just so inflexible. If this moment of being tied up or bound in a way that you don't like could just be okay, you could step into that unconditional moment. And in that unconditional moment, you would have your wits about you. You would have your vision. More than that, the world would be conspiring to help you. There'd be a bug that lands on the scissors right next to the rope just to kind of show you they're there. And we notice that, right? I mean, surely this isn't the first time you've experienced it. When you calm everything down, everything flows differently. Unconditional. It's kind of the opposite of the human experience. Mostly the structure of our world is built around all of our conditions. And our freedom from bondage are all those moments where we let go of our conditions. And the reason we stay stuck is because there's a lie that's been told forever. And that lie is that we'll be free once our conditions are met. Once I get the relationship I'm looking for, then I'll be free. How many of you are in relationships? Big freedom source? Once I get the job or the career that I'm looking for, then I'll be free. It's a lie. After a certain age, everybody knows it's a lie. But we don't know another way. So we spend our life chasing after things that are not the answer. But those of you who attend a group like this, those of you who have the karma to be in this room, you're ready to explore outside the human experience. You're ready to explore the unconditional moment. In that moment, all the restrictions are lifted. In that moment, nothing's wrong. Whether your story reflects that or not really has more to do with how much time you've spent in that moment, along with where you're at in the cycle of the story. But you could be dying of cancer, but in that unconditional moment, you're not dying of cancer. You might have whatever cancer built while you were living your story. But in that unconditional moment, the story goes away, and whatever you are is just experiencing life. And what a power. What a power to not be bound to the story, to not be bound to the thing that has bound you since you originally pieced a perception of this world together in your childhood. To be able to be in it and to be able to step out of it. Joanna says it reminds her of the parable of the blind men and the elephant. Yeah. The blind men and the elephant are all feeling different parts of the elephant, and they can't get an idea of what the whole elephant looks like. So the one feeling the trunk thinks an elephant is just this long kind of trunk-like thing and has all kinds of theories about the elephant. The one who's feeling the tail has a different theory about the elephant. The one who has his hand stepped on by the elephant has a different theory about the elephant. But that ability to just kind of take a breath and take a step back shows you what you're looking at. In the story, it brings us up close to things. We become myopic. We see a bunch of separate parts interacting in very limited systems. But in this unconditional moment, everything opens up. At first, you can get a better understanding of the system you're looking at. Then you start to see how it's tied into bigger systems. And if you keep going, if you stay there and just sort of let yourself fill with the energy of consciousness that comes from abiding in that unconditional present moment, what you'll actually start to see is that between the components of the system is infinite space. And that most of what you even think are the components of the system are really barely there at all. And you've just laced all these ideas around them. If you really, really keep going, you'll start to question your own existence in a way that's actually comforting. And then after a while, you'll start to see that you don't exist, that you're just consciousness, that you're the same consciousness flowing through everybody. You might even slip into people and see their stories. I've had moments of that. Just when things get that flexible. When you let go of the conditions of being Liam, or the conditions of being Suki, or Eladine, or Joanna, or Taisa. When you stay in the unconditional, you open up beyond the conditions. And then you know what you do? You step right back into them. Because what else is there to do? The difference is now you know. The difference is you can let them go when they're not serving anymore. If they start draining your energy, or if the system is just hemorrhaging good feeling or energy, you can shift. Or you can stay if there's someone in the system that you're trying to help wake up. That happens too. Very different than being stuck in it, though. Looks the same from the outside, but it's not the same. If you ever want to know if someone's really there, you have to actually watch the growth trajectory of their life. A person who's there is always evolving forward. Even their spiritual teachings will grow. Someone who isn't there is usually in a state of either treading water or de-evolution. My main teacher used to say there's really no such thing as treading water. If you think you're treading water, you're de-evolving. You know, you've been moving forward and you're really just coming to a stop because you're about to fall backwards. But that's okay too. If you're on a spiritual path, you'll move forwards, fall backwards, move forwards, fall backwards, move forwards, fall backwards, and the net result is still forwards. But the road to that is not following a bunch of rules. The road to that is letting go of the conditional. If you want to know what your conditions are, when we sit in meditation, really give yourself to it. And your mind will show you one by one the conditions that keep you from just walking unrestrictedly down that road. Every little thing your mind comes in to tell you to do, what you're going to have for dinner, what some person said to you that day, all the work you have to do tomorrow. Those are all the boundaries of what you're allowed to think about. And if you just let those questions go unanswered and shift deeply into this unconditional moment and just sit with the discomfort of that unresolved question, that unresolved image, then you can move beyond the conditional. So why don't we do it now? What do you say? We're going to go into meditation just like we always have. But you're going to really do it. You're going to really give yourself to it. You're not going to have a condition that you have to be entertained or comfortable, or that there's some experience you have to have. You're just going to show up for this moment empty-handed with no demands. So let's start with the forehead and crown. Attention here and here. And just begin to breathe. It gives you a little space from your conditional self so that the real moment can start to reveal itself. So just breathe from that space until you start to feel the arrival of reality, which I think everyone in this room has probably felt that before. Leave the images alone. There's nothing you have to do about them. That thought that there is something you have to do is your misidentification with that storyline. Go ahead and let them die an uncomfortable death. first there's a feeling of who am I without this? And that's because you've built your identity on something flimsy. If you just let it go, you can identify with what remains. The backdrop of reality that is also you. But the core of you, not just the waves on the surface of the ocean that rise and fall and disappear. That substance out of which they all come. That's you. Let go of everything and you'll see that. It's a stability that cannot be knocked off center. Because it is the center. When you find that center place, bring your body in sync with it. The way you do that is you make sure that nothing you do is louder than the sound of that silence. That none of your movements are brighter than the sound of that silence. How quiet can you make your mind? How quiet and smooth can you make your breath? How released can you make your inhale? How natural and non-rigid can you make your stillness? Rigidity is loud. Flexibility is smooth and quiet. Let every cell of your being listen to the silence. This is what brings it into your physical body. This is the true meaning of bringing a spiritual teaching down the mountain. You have to yield the physical to the spiritual. Now, for some of you, there's some movement coming in, and that's fine. Don't hold it rigid. Instead, find the stillness at the center of it and just gently give yourself to that. Let the movement be the movement, nothing to do about it. It's tenuous, but that's okay. You feel like you could lose it, but that's okay. The movement will stop on its own, and you'll be stronger for having abided at the still point at the center of it than you would have been if you tried to hold it rigid. This is a strength that's sustainable. Concentration is a strength that burns itself out. That's why concentration is not meditation. Useful to get that initial buffer, but not a long-term solution. You notice how your body feels both settled and charged at the same time. The more time you spend here, the more that charge builds, but it builds without taking away the settled. It's a union. A union of the passive and the active. Spend enough time in that space, you'll develop little powers. Nothing worth pursuing, really, but it opens things up in you. Gives you back parts of yourself. And anchors you in what's real. It balances out the mind, and that's a good thing because wherever the mind goes, there's more power at its disposal. Things manifest faster. If you abuse that, it dissipates quickly. Best to come at it without an intention. Just a desire to understand the moment through direct perception and experience. In the early stages, you think you're collecting it. In the later stages, you realize you always were it. This week, I'd like you guys to do your practice. Doesn't have to be long. If you can do 15 minutes, that's fine. But practice in this way. When the silence starts to come, bring it down the mountain. Make your breathing as quiet as possible in relation to that silence. And it'll just flow into you. then during your days, take some of your activities and see if you can have them flow as quietly as the silence too. I first learned about this by chopping wood. You know, you chop wood and it's frozen and knotted and the axe doesn't go through. But I learned that if I could just focus and swing the axe in a way that was in alignment with the silent ringing of the quiet, it would go through every time. The movement of the axe became an expression of reality. Find something in your life, a walk. You can even do it while speaking, but I wouldn't start there. Something simple, washing the dishes. Where you make your movements so quiet, internally quiet, externally just smooth and efficient and deliberate, without being controlling. And see if you can bring that meditative state, that meditative power, into your normal day. Just try it. Play with it a little. All right, any questions about that before we end for the night?
I had a quick question.
Okay.
I practice yoga daily, and at the end of my yoga, I'm in that peaceful, quiet place of non-movement and meditation. But I don't know what was going on in this exercise, that I was still, I was quiet, but my heart was racing. So I don't know why that was happening.
Well, I mean, it could be many things. You know, I mean, it could be something you ate or something very physical like that. But a lot of times, too, when we are doing something that can actually take us where we want to go, the body kind of knows it and it gets scared to change. And sometimes it's not even that your heart is racing, it just feels like your heart is racing, and what it is it's a bunch of just kind of energy fluttering. And it happens a lot in the beginning. What's great about something like yoga is that it bypasses a lot of that. Like, this is a very direct class, right? We go directly for it, and we do it through mastery of the mind. Yoga takes you into your body, and so for a lot of people, that's a really good way to start, because it shows them where that balanced state is. But at some point, they eventually have to learn how to get there without, doing 45 minutes of stretching. But I think what's nice about something like this for you is that you've got your yoga, you've got your way to experience that, but then you also have this thing that kind of brings you up against your walls so that you can start to see where some of those limitations are, and actually, just like in a stretch, how at some point, if you don't just sort of breathe into it and let go, you're not going to be able to go any further. It's the same sort of thing with these sort of ephedrine boundaries that our body sets up, where, it's like, oh God, if I let go any further, I'm going to become something different than I've experienced before. And you just have to, even though you're feeling that discomfort, just let it be there and find the center of it. You don't have to control your heart. You don't have to control the anxiety. You just find the center of it and you be at the center. Let the anxiety be the anxiety. Let the heart rate be the heart rate. And if you can just abide there, that'll pass and you'll find yourself in a different space than you were in before. But I think yoga is a great thing to do. Might as well approach it from all angles.
Yeah, sometimes I won't do the stretches. I'll just lay there and be in full meditation mode on the floor in my living room with some peaceful, relaxing music. But that's why I do yoga, because it's so relaxing.
Yeah, I think that's
Thank
great.
you for that explanation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. All right, anybody else? All right, guys. I will see you next Thursday. Have a good
Okay.
week.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Pam. Great class tonight.
Thanks, Joanna.
Thank
Bye.
you. Love to you all.
Okay, bye. Have a great week, everyone.